The sun was just beginning to dip beneath the horizon, casting long golden rays across the stretch of suburban highway as I pulled out of the grocery store parking lot. My car, a silver 2016 Honda Accord, purred quietly beneath me. Freshly washed, trunk full of weekend groceries, and my favorite podcast humming through the speakers. It was supposed to be a regular Thursday evening. The road was quiet. A few cars trailed ahead, and the occasional jogger bounced down the sidewalk. Nothing unusual until the red SUV pulled into the lane beside me. It was a late-model Ford Explorer, deep maroon, windows tinted far too dark to be legal. It had been behind me leaving the store, weaving a little too aggressively through the lot, then riding my bumper as I merged onto the main road. I tapped my brakes lightly, not enough to stop, just to say, "Back off." Apparently, that was the wrong move. The SUV surged forward, matching my speed, then began slowly drifting into my lane, inch by inch. I gave it room, unwilling to start a confrontation. But the driver was clearly agitated. The SUV jerked ahead of me, then slammed on the brakes. I hit mine fast. Groceries slid forward in the back seat. My car lurched, tires squealing, but I stopped just in time. No contact. But before I could even process what just happened, the SUV shot forward again, swerved left, then back into my lane, and this time it slammed to a stop. I wasn't so lucky this time. I braked hard, but I wasn't quick enough. The crunch of metal rang out, sharp and sickening. I closed my eyes. My hood was crumpled, not catastrophically, but enough to ruin my entire week. The front bumper of her SUV completely untouched. I knew that look the moment she stepped out of the car. Mid-40s, bleach blonde bob, high-end yoga gear that had never seen a treadmill, and the unmistakable strut of someone ready to cause a scene. She whipped off her sunglasses dramatically, storming toward my driver's side window with exaggerated limp. I rolled it down halfway. "Are you blind?" she shrieked. "You slammed into me. My neck. I think it's broken." I blinked. "You brake-checked me. Twice." "Excuse me?" she said, shifting instantly from injured to enraged. "I was driving safely. You rear-ended me. That's on you." I stepped out, keeping my voice steady. "There's not a single scratch on your car." "You calling me a liar?" she demanded, phone already out, camera rolling. "I have witnesses." She pointed vaguely to the street. There was no one. "I have a dashcam," I said simply. Her face faltered, just for a second. A flicker of uncertainty passed through her eyes, but it vanished quickly, replaced with a sneer. "Then go ahead," she snapped. "Show the police. They'll see you hit me." She was too confident, too rehearsed. She'd done this before. And that's when I knew. I wasn't just caught in an accident. I was caught in a setup. I backed away slowly, pulling my phone from my pocket, thumb already dialing. "I'm calling the police." Karen's lip curled. "Good. They need to see what you did. You rammed into a woman. I could have been killed." She rubbed her neck dramatically, still filming. "Ow, ow, I think I have whiplash. I might need an ambulance." "You seem fine," I said. Wrong thing to say. "How dare you!" she shouted, pivoting toward her SUV. "My back is spasming. I'm going to need a lawyer. I'm going to own your car. Hope you like walking." I ignored her and turned my attention to the dash cam mounted on my windshield. A small blinking red light confirmed it was still recording. I reached in, popped the SD card, and slipped it into my pocket. She noticed. "What's that?" "Evidence," I said. She flinched like I'd slapped her. "You're tampering with the crime scene." "I'm preserving it," I replied. The cop arrived 10 minutes later. Karen was mid-rant, leaning against her SUV and wailing about how her spine had been violently compressed by the collision. "Ma'am," the officer interrupted calmly, "let's get statements." Karen launched into a breathless monologue about how I'd come out of nowhere and rammed into her at full speed. I stood quietly until she was finished. Then I handed the officer the dashcam footage. He plugged the card into his patrol laptop, eyes squinting at the small screen as the footage played. I watched him. At first, expressionless. Then, as the video rolled, his brows furrowed. The officer looked up slowly, first at me, then at her. "You slammed on your brakes twice," he said flatly, without any visible reason. Karen blinked. What? No, that's not... "It's all on video," the officer cut in. "You cut him off, brake-checked him, and stopped in the middle of a moving lane." Karen's face flushed red, lips parting as she struggled for a comeback. "This is fraudulent behavior," the officer added, voice harder now. "You're lucky no one was hurt." Karen laughed nervously. Maybe the brakes just locked up? You told me he rammed you. I thought he did. But your bumper isn't even scratched." Silence. Karen folded her arms, then dropped them. Her voice shrank. "Look, I panicked." "Panicked into a staged accident?" the officer asked. That's when a second cruiser pulled up behind us. The officer turned toward it, nodding to his partner. "You might want to see this footage, too." Karen started to back away, toward her SUV. "Ma'am," the officer said firmly, "please stay where you are." But she didn't. She jumped in her vehicle and locked the doors. The officer knocked on her window. "Ma'am, step out of the vehicle." Karen shook her head violently behind the glass, gripping the steering wheel like it was a lifeline. Her lips moved rapidly, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. She looked like someone cornered, not by predators, but by her own lies. "I said step out of the vehicle," the officer repeated, louder now, tapping the glass with a firm knuckle. Karen reached for something in the center console. The officer's hand hovered near his holster. "Ma'am, don't." But instead of a weapon, she held up a tiny bottle of water and began dumping it on her own lap, screaming, "Look what he did to me! I'm soaked! He threw something through the window!" Both officers froze. I did too. Was she serious? "Ma'am," the second officer said calmly, "that's not how windshields work." She didn't stop. "He threw a bottle. He assaulted me. He's violent. He was yelling at me and I feared for my life." Now everyone was watching. Drivers slowed as they passed. A cyclist rolled by, pausing to film. The grocery store manager stepped outside, arms crossed. And I just stood there, speechless. Not because I was afraid, but because I realized something in that moment. This wasn't her first time doing this. She was practiced. Too practiced. The lies came easily. Her performance, once shaky, had shifted into something disturbingly fluid, like she'd rehearsed it. The second officer stepped up beside the first. "Dispatch," he said into his radio. "Run a background check on a red Ford Explorer. Partial plate 8PX. We may have a repeat offender." Karen's head whipped toward him. "What did you say?" she snapped, the water bottle still in her hand. "You heard me," the officer said. "We've got dashcam footage of you brake checking, possibly staging a collision. We'll be checking to see if this matches any prior incidents." Karen stared at him, frozen. Then, in one sudden motion, she started the engine. The Red Explorer roared to life. "Don't even think about it!" the first officer shouted, stepping back with his hand on his holster. But Karen didn't listen. With tires screeching against asphalt, she peeled forward, swerving wildly around the second cruiser. The officers jumped clear of her path as she barreled through the lot entrance, clipping a shopping cart and sending it flying into a flower bed. People screamed. I stepped back instinctively as she sped toward the main road, one hand still holding her phone up to the dash, recording something. Maybe me, maybe herself. The second officer jumped into his cruiser. "We've got a runner," he barked into the radio. "Suspect fleeing the scene. Possible insurance fraud, reckless endangerment. I'm in pursuit." Within seconds, lights flashed. Sirens wailed. The first officer turned to me, breath quick. You stay put. We've got her plate, her face, and your footage. You just helped uncover something way bigger than a fender bender. I nodded slowly, my heart hammering. Then something strange happened. As the cruiser shot off after her down the road, I looked down at my phone, still open to the Dashcam app. A file had just finished uploading. A notification pinged. New recording backed up to cloud, Karen Collision 03.mp4. Moondru Vinakal. Wait, 3